Hello, hello, Samutari here, and welcome back, actually, to Final Fantasy. Now, this is obviously the Pixel Remaster. I actually pre-ordered this game whenever it was first announced, and I decided to actually get it on Steam because of, I guess, the history of this game and the history of it on my channel specifically. Now, don't mind how the screen fits right now. I did fix it. But I was still trying to figure out the controls. The configuration is better from here on out, I promise. But this is just kind of my intro and a welcome back. Anyways, gosh, this looks so pretty. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So Final Fantasy 1. So I am a huge Final Fantasy fan. I'm sure some of you have seen that I make some Final Fantasy 14 videos here and there. They're mostly just private and they're kind of just silly stuff. But I've been a Final Fantasy fan for a long time, even long before I ever even knew about a Final Fantasy MMO. My first Final Fantasy game was actually Final Fantasy IX. Well, it was the first one that I played. And then the first Final Fantasy that I actually beat in full was Final Fantasy X, but I think my favorite Final Fantasy game that I have beaten to date is probably Final Fantasy III. And what's crazy is I've heard a lot of people say that it's very difficult and it's one of the harder ones, but honestly, like, I loved it. I played it on the DS. It was one of my first reviews on my blog. And I guess, like, Final Fantasy is so important to me, just because it's what's really it was what really got me into role-playing games, RPGs in general, especially JRPGs. Now, the reason why it's significant on this channel is because it was actually one of my bigger, I guess, series that I was trying to do. Originally, this channel was actually just meant for retro gaming. I felt like people focused way too much on what was modern and what was popular. And so I really wanted this channel to stand out, and I kind of wanted to do like a Pro Jared thing where I mostly just went back and talked about classics, or maybe I talked about like not very popular games. And at the time I was living in Germany. So at the time I was living in Germany, I wasn't able to take any of my consoles with me when I moved across the country. And so I just really took this opportunity to kind of learn how to use ROMs and emulators. And so one of the first things that I downloaded was I wanted to make Pokemon content, and I knew that I wanted to do just Game Boy content really in general. So I actually downloaded the Visual Boy Advance, and I then proceeded to find ROMs that I could play, and Final Fantasy was just one of those that was available. I downloaded the GBA ROM for Final Fantasy 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls, and I thought to myself, man, this is great. I've always wanted to go back. I always wanted to beat every single Final Fantasy. I think that this would be a great place to start. Final Fantasy 1's always intrigued me. And the thing is I now have a very love-hate relationship with this game because of its place on my channel and how much effort I put into it, and how in the end it just really didn't work out. So way back when I first started this channel, I was playing on a really crappy laptop. I didn't even have a desk. My laptop always sounded like it was about ready to explode. I just had no idea what I was doing. I was working off of a free version of Camtasia, and then a version of Camtasia that a friend gave me, where the license actually expired. It was just a mess. And I still don't know what I'm doing, but I know a lot more about what I'm doing than I did back then. And so, so I was messing with emulators and ROMs and editing, and it was my first time, like, doing any of this stuff. And I decided to take on a whole JRPG, and I was like, this'll be fine, this'll work, it'll be okay. And for a while, it did. I had a blast playing Final Fantasy, and I invested so much time and so much effort into it. And all I remember about it is that we were right at the end of the game. And there's this one dungeon where you have to fight this one type of enemy, which drops this one type of item, which is really, really rare. And you need this item in order to upgrade your jobs. And this was like near the end of the game. It took me, I'd say probably about 3 days. 3 days total to grind this dungeon, to get this monster to drop this one item. And once it did, I was thrilled. And I just remember going and getting the job upgrade and thinking to myself, we're gonna do it. I am finally gonna beat Final Fantasy 1. And I was so stoked. So I did my typical thing. I, did my 2 save states because I always wanted to be extra careful. I shut down the game the same way I did, and then, a few days later, because I had to work and everything else, a few days later, I opened my laptop, I turn on the game, and I'm like, alright, it's time to beat Final Fantasy. And then what should happen but my save data is gone. And I don't know how many of you have ever faced the heartbreak of a corrupted file or, a save state that you save over. Like, I don't know how many of you know that pain or know how bad it is. Excuse me. I don't know if you know how horrible that feeling is. And, some people might just kind of like look at this and be like, okay, so what'd you really lose? If you go back and you tally up my videos, you might think, oh, well, you only lost like maybe 8 or 10 hours. But the thing is even back then, I was cutting out a lot of the fluff. I knew that my audience didn't want to sit there and watch me, grind levels or whatever, so I honestly would cut a lot of that out. Every video I would start and I'd say, hey, so-and-so is this level, we changed this gear, I went to this city, but you didn't miss anything, and I would kind of keep people updated and informed, but I knew that they ultimately did not want to see, all that extra stuff. It just would not be interesting. So, whereas it might look like I only lost 10 hours, it's closer to like 20, 24. And the thing is I tried looking for this ROM. I tried looking for it everywhere. My save state. I looked on my external hard drive, I tried messing with the settings of the emulator, I looked on all my USBs in case I moved it, and I just couldn't find it. And to this day, I think the last time I looked for it, I seriously last looked for it, I think last year. Because I told myself, well, maybe I'm just being stupid. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I put it in a strange folder somewhere. And so, I legitimately have looked for this thing since then. So you're thinking 2014 to now, for 10 years, I've looked for this ROM, or for this save, and I still haven't found it. And then eventually I did reach a point where I was like, okay, I've got to just man up, I've got to just do it again. I'm just gonna have to play this game all over again. It's no big deal. It's no big deal, right? And so I still had the Visual Boy Advance, I still had the ROM, and so I booted it up, but something about the ROM was now broken. The music was all messed up, when I tried to fast forward so that I could grind faster, the speed messed with the files, and it was just a mess. I just could not get it to work. You'll see this in some of my other JRPGs, Lunar Legend especially. I literally have a video called, like, I broke it, or I think I broke it, and, it's just, unfortunately, that's the reality of using ROMs and emulators. Emulators aren't perfect, ROMs aren't perfect, and what happens is oftentimes, you'll find a really crappy file that may not work. It may not work all the way. Sometimes it will get corrupted in the middle. Sometimes it gets corrupted during a very important part. I mean, we've seen, I'm sure you've seen videos upon videos of, Nintendo purposefully putting bad ROMs out there so that people are forced to buy products, that sort of thing. So I feel a lot safer having bought, the Pixel Remaster, because I'm actually saving my file. There's multiple save files, it's on Steam, so I'm actually feeling pretty confident about this. But yeah, so I mean, that's really the history. So we are starting back from the beginning, and it is sad that we are just no longer at the point which we were. But I'm just determined. I told myself I wanted to beat this game, and then I got really salty because I got right to the end almost, and I was like heading towards the end. You could see the finish line. And, I got to that point, and obviously I got really, really upset, and I've just never done it since. But now, since I beat Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail, now the Dawn Trail's finished, and I really have nothing else to do right now, I thought to myself, now is the perfect time. I'm on a Final Fantasy hype right now, I'm feeling good about this file, just why the hell not, And it gives me a chance to actually get back into making a series on this channel. I haven't really made a series since Near Reincarnation, and I have been really depressed about that. And I've been thinking to myself, what would I do if I did do a series again? Because it's been a hot minute. Yeah, I could go back and I could like redo some of the series that obviously need some love and some care. Some people have requested that I do False Red. Some people have requested some of the other like old series that I never finished and they want me to try it. A lot of people have been wanting me to do Pokemon hacks, Pokemon ROMs, especially like the custom ones. But I'm really just not sure that I want to do that right now. Maybe in the future. But the more that I thought about it, I was just like, there's a lot of classic games that I want to play, but just that one always comes back to haunt me, and it's Final Fantasy. So, if you were paying attention to the intro, essentially this tells about a prophecy that was told by a wizard named Lucan, or however you want, a philosopher, or whatever you want to call him. Lucan's prophecy essentially told about the world basically kind of getting corrupted. And the only people that could save this corrupted world, as the world starts to die, wither, decay, whatever, as the elements become unbalanced, the only people that can save the world are the 4 warriors that bearing a crystal. They are essentially known as the Warriors of Light. So us 4 adventurers, which can be named anything that you want, they show up to Cornelia, and when they are spotted with their crystals by the guards, they are sent to the king. And the king basically says, okay, I believe in Lucan's prophecy. Obviously, you guys are the heroes that have been foretold to arrive. You're the ones that are going to save the world. But he says that you cannot progress further because the bridge has been destroyed. The bridge leading to the other lands, which you'd have to go to. And he essentially says, hey, the bridge is destroyed, but tell you what. My daughter has been kidnapped by Garland, who is his finest knight. Garland became power-hungry and corrupted, and so he has stolen away Princess Sarah and taken her to a shrine to the north. And the king basically says, save my daughter, and as a token of my appreciation, I will rebuild the bridge for you, and then you can continue your journey. So the king obviously believes that we are the foretold warriors of light that will save the world, but he's also a concerned father, so what I'm doing right now is I'm essentially just level grinding until I get to a certain level. I usually try to level up 5 to 10 levels per zone. The first zone I always level up to level 10. Yeah, I am overdoing it for sure. But the thing is I really can't help it. I've done this every single time I play a JRPG. As long as there's no restrictions on how high I can level, I will pretty much level as high as I can. So yeah, any new zone that I enter, if there's a new town, I try to kind of keep it my simple rule of, you can never be too leveled up. I'm not that person that cares if the content is easy or not just because I did my work and I leveled up. So any zone, I will try and level up 5 to 10 levels. I'm pretty much going to do the same thing that I was doing before, so every new episode I'm essentially going to tell you if I leveled up, I'm going to tell you if I changed any gear, and I'm basically going to tell you what progress has been made, just as far as like where we're located. But the thing is you guys are never going to miss anything as far as like new locations or new towns. You're basically just going to miss the leveling up. I will do some grinding occasionally on the video itself, just to show you that I'm doing it, and just so that you can see some of the creatures as well. So let's go over our characters. So in my past video, ooh, that run is, oh, that's too much running. I put it on default run because I didn't know how fast run was going to be, but I don't like it. So we're gonna change that. I'm gonna go back to walk. But anyways, in my original videos, I had, I think it was Mia, Taz, Shujo, and I forget who the other one was. I don't remember. I think it was either Dustin or whatever. So I tried to name my party members after my friends. Obviously the names are a little bit different because my life circumstances in the last 10 years have been drastically changed. The main character is still Mia. Well, I should have named them Sam. But anyways, Mia, and then Cleo, who is one of my Final Fantasy XIV friends and my bestie. Rodo, who is also one of my Final Fantasy XIV friends, who I play with often. We play a ton of MMOs together. Shujo, who has been my friend since I was in Germany, and he specifically requested that he be a red mage whenever I played any of the old Final Fantasy games. So anytime I have an old, like, retro Final Fantasy game and there's the option to put a red mage in the party, one, I just love red mages in general, but two, Shujo always requested that he be named, or the red mage be named after him. And then we have Roto as the monk, Cleo as our healer, and then Mia as the warrior. So yeah, so that is essentially our party. So right now what I'm doing is I'm buying magic. The thing with Final Fantasy, or at least the older ones, is you did have to buy your spells and stuff. So basically every town that we go to, the first thing that we're always going to do is we're always going to check the armor shop, the weapon shop, and the magic shops. Because eventually, you know, we're not just going to have fire and thunder. Eventually we're going to have things like Fireaga and Thundara, you know, Cura, Curaga, Dia, Diaga. These are just upgraded levels of these spells. The only thing that I don't like is that we don't really see the MP bar whenever we're actually, like, fighting in the zone unless we, like, switch the menus, and I kind of forget how to do that. So, but yeah. So right now, my main plan is that the monk and the warrior are very heavy hitters. And then, of course, we have the white mage, which is going to be responsible for the majority of the healing. Now, the red mage actually does decent damage because it can wear heavy armor and likewise can use heavy weapons. But if the healer is suffering and the party actually needs just that extra bit of healing and the white mage by themselves cannot keep up with it, then the red mage can kind of pick up where the white mage is leaving off, but likewise, the red mage can also learn some dark magic, which can then exploit some enemy weaknesses. Now, a lot of people might not agree. They might just say, hey, you might as well just go with black mage, white mage, monk, and warrior. Everybody plays a little bit differently, but I always felt like red mages were overpowered just because they could do that extra damage. Like I said, some strategies like that might come back and bite me in the ass later, but, you know, that's just how I played, and honestly, in the old playthrough, it was working out really, really well, so, but it's all about spell management. But yeah, so that's just basically where we are right now in this game. I really just don't have anything else to say. This is just one of those really short things that says, hey, I'm back, I really want to do this series. So yeah, anyways, just let me know, if this is something that you want to see. Because I'm determined, dude. Like, I'm determined. Whether or not I play this for my channel or not, like, I'm going to beat this game. We are going to get it done. So, I guess just welcome back to Final Fantasy I, and I hope that you really enjoy going on this adventure with me. So, let me know in the comment section down below if this is something that you want to see more of. Let me know what your favorite Final Fantasy game is, or if you've never played a Final Fantasy game, let me know if it's something that you'd want to try. I love talking about Final Fantasy, and I could definitely give some recommendations of my favorites and why they're my favorites. And yeah, let me know if you have played this game. Let me know what you think of my party. Like I said, maybe it's not the best combination, but it was working out pretty well. And feel free to check out my previous videos on Final Fantasy I. They're not the best quality, but you know, like everything that I do on my channel, this is not for monetization. This is for my passion towards gaming. It's not the best editing. It's not the best conversation. I'm a very awkward individual, and I don't know how to talk to a camera as if I'm talking to a real person, you know? But I would say that if anything, my videos have a lot of heart. They are genuine. They are coming from my heart. They're coming from my soul, because I literally just want to share my passion for gaming with you. But gosh, like, this Pixel Remaster is so freaking beautiful. If you are a Final Fantasy fan and you have not gotten the Pixel Remaster, I really do not think you will regret buying it. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining me on this brand new adventure. Feel free to leave a like if you want to, no pressure. And if not, you know, it is what it is. But thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Alright, ciao you guys.